Yo, what is good, my anime faithful? What is good, yo? Finally, guys, we are getting past the Stone Apocalypse. Yes, I said it. It's almost over. We're almost done. But with all things that are just Naruto slash Boruto, some things are great and some things are not as great. This fight, not as great. There's a lot of fights in the series that I can tell you absolutely wipe this fight, and they're not. Some of the fights aren't even as long. Excuse me. But the main problem with the fighting was one gleaming issue, which I'll get into later. But there was something about this show that or not show, but this arc that I had a good feeling that they were kind of holding back on, or for some reason, not sure if they wanted to do. It almost felt like they were figuring out ways to prolong something that they didn't know if they were going to actually put in there or not, which they did end up putting in there, in my opinion, and that would be um, the thing that they drop is Mitsuki going into Sage mode, confirming that he has Sage mode of some kind. But it looks for some reason completely different, and I want to stress this right now. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. But I want to stress this and say it could easily have been just a reworking of how they see him in Sage mode, because I mean, what we saw in Sage mode of Mitsuki from the very first time we see him using it and he's with Orochimaru and stuff, that was straight out of the one shot, which makes sense for them to dedicate so much of their artiste and all of their focus on the animation on making it look like what the creator made it look like, in my opinion. I think they really wanted to blow him away with showing him that they could have made an animation look exactly like that, if not the exact same. So that here's what we get, or that's what we got. So now this guy's level 70. Oh, I gotta survive until time runs out too. Ugh. What we get is really dope out of this episode, because first of all, I had no clue if he was actually going to have Sage mode after what happened to him in previous episodes. But what I was saying about the Naruto Boruto overall as a good thing is, by Mitsuki using this mode, by him activating it relatively in front of Sakura's Sharingan, maybe not. Her eyes are like always red now, and then all of a sudden the pupil will pop up later on when she's actually like act like, I don't know if that was a messed up part, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, there's some gleaming issues that maybe me as just a fan, I have missed out on some of those like little details that they've been trying to introduce for her eye or something. But from what I could tell, the only time your eyes should be red is when she's actually using a Sharingan ability, or it's active in general. But with these episodes that I've been seeing with her eyes, they're like always red. And then, not to mention, even though they're already red, she still then has the pupil come in later. So it's almost like she has a weird latent effect of whenever her eyes are in like a red mode, it pretty much just comes natural to her to that's interesting. If you go into Soul Charge, the time freezes. That's so stupid. Maybe it's a natural way for her to stay in Sharingan and get some of the benefits, but I wanted to say that, and that doesn't seem like the case either, because she activates it when a whole bunch of boulders are being thrown at her, and then we hear the shotgun sound, we see the actual pupils show up, but her eyes seemingly were like already red at that point. So that was my only like weird notion with it all. Like, how is her eyes already red and she's just now activating the shotgun to get an upper hand on these rocks that are falling so she can see them all better? Stuff like that just was weird to me. And not to mention that the guy is straight up just going in. He don't even care. This man was like, I am bodying someone today, and if it's one of y'all, like, you better hope it's not you. um, and of course, Mitsuki with his super, super dope transformation. And really, bro, he went for a grab. With that transformation, man, they definitely went with a different art style. They went with a different look of it. Or there's two different possibilities in my crazy brain since I've been watching the show from start to finish. One, Mitsuki went into a Sage mode that was much weaker or much more controllable, because as soon as he goes into this mode and has a moment to talk to the guy, he pretty much tells us what we need to know as of another reason why he doesn't just spam this mode whenever there's been trouble, like the Osuski, for instance, is because it does disgusting stuff to his body. It definitely like rips him apart in a like an instance kind of way. So there's all these types of implications on it now, and I think that's very intelligent if they want to bring something like that into the show. I did Circle too. How did his Circle win? What do you mean, brother? But yeah, so with it looking the way it did, it just had an interesting, different look about it, and that's really all I noticed from it. You know, it's not like when I saw it changed. I was like, this isn't Sage mode. This is a different mode, just because it looked different. Because clearly it was supposed to be Sage mode. That was 1 second, bro. And if it is like a lower form of Sage mode, like him using less chakra, we still see how much it took out of him to do what, two things: break rocks off of him and throw us, no, three things. Pretty much drain the man down to the wire, and that's a pretty useless move if you're going against someone like Naruto, if you're going against someone who can actually take an attack from you in that mode, because if you're going to be that tired afterwards, you're not going to be able to do much, so Mitsuki definitely got nerfed when it comes down to this ability, knowing how much toll it's like Ultra Instincts to him, like it just tears his body apart when he uses it. So really good on their part to make. What is going on, bruh? I don't know how I'm gonna beat this guy without just killing him. But yeah, Mitsuki is definitely coming back, and to see him go into the Sage mode that looks almost I don't know how to explain it. Like, it almost looks like they just didn't have the budget to, or they didn't have the budget, they just didn't want to put it in that way. Like, maybe this is their way of showing like he does have Sage mode and it can look different. I just don't know. I'm not saying it looked terrible or anything, or like they need to go back to the original design only, but that's kind of how it seems. Like, the original design is just god tier when it comes down to this. So I honestly want to see what comes from the overall arc of him using Sage mode, and if it's something he can use more consistently without being drained as much, because what better person to try to talk to about Sage mode and Sage chakra than Naruto himself, so hopefully that becomes a thing between Mitsuki and Naruto, even if it's only anime only. I just think it would make a lot of sense for Naruto to somehow help him if it ever comes out that Boruto and Sarada both saw it, so It only takes one of them to talk to either Sasuke or Naruto and tell them that Mitsuki has an ability that they can't even rival, because when they were stuck doing nothing, he had the ability to get out there and do something. Okay, grabs keep the time going. I should have been grabbing more. And I'm dead. Oh, I won. Let's go, baby! But overall, Mitsuki showing that, in my opinion now, makes this whole episode not filler. Because by Boruto and Sarada learning, and I mean, there's other things I can use to make it, make this not seem like filler as well. Because, not to mention, Konohamaru, the man who was the third Hokage's grandson, straight up has gone from hating, thinking of Mitsuki as like a someone he could hate, to showing his true colors of how he's supposed to treat a kid. You know, like someone who doesn't have anything really to do with what the situation happening in the past. So that's a huge character growth for him, let alone Boruto and Sakura have now seen at least a glimpse of Mitsuki's Sage Mode. That completely confirms that this isn't filler. So if you skip this, you're pretty much missing out on huge development for Mitsuki, which I didn't even get into. Development for this team leader, and Boruto and Sarada is like, of course, you know, like Sarada goes in this week. She literally gets bodied multiple times by just attacks, and she still kept up with Boruto and Mitsuki every time that they're practically together. So everybody went in throughout this whole entire mini arc, and I honestly think that with the old man doing what he did, we might be experiencing another reason why Boruto will be the most broken ninja of all times. I'm trying to think of, okay, the best example the best example already of how what I'm thinking could be 100% possible is the fact that he watched the shadow clone be done, right? Or he watched the summoning jutsu. There's things that Boruto has seen once and done it, right? I'm not crazy, right? So if I can't, for some reason I can't put my finger on everything on that, the actual, I think it was shadow clone jutsu, I swear to God. If it wasn't that, it was definitely like summoning, because it was in the class and he pretty much nailed it. But anyways, with all that being said, Boruto witnessed the guy using this particle disgusting attack. So there's no way you can tell me that you don't expect Boruto to be able to take something out of this. This man has taken things out of fights that weren't even real fights, man. They were just like training sessions and stuff. So if he learns how to use those cubes, or even just gets to use them once because he knows the technique of it, and mind you, not a lot of people push that old man to use that technique. And the other thing is, the other person who could use it was reanimated, and he was on Madara's team. So sure, Naruto could have saw stuff like that and like picked up on it, but Naruto wasn't a prodigy like that. Like, Naruto had problems doing jutsu, and that's why he trained so hard and so long to master them. And not to mention, when the Rasengan is actually in his chakra, like in his category, so it was easier for him to do something that actually is supposed to be done by his physical body, just like lightning with Sasuke / and fire, for some reason. Or like at least fire anyway. Like fire was the main thing Sasuke had perfected before even any help from Kakashi Sensei and stuff like that. So, and when I say perfected, I mean he could just use multiple fire techniques without any help from people that You know, like how he learned lightning from Kakashi and would not have lightning if it probably wasn't for him teaching him certain parts of the lightning. So, with all that being said, Mitsuki, Boruto, Sarada, everybody gets quite a bit of development in this, and I just hope that, I guess another way to confirm that it's not filler is if the next 3 episodes happen and there's no repercussions of them like ever mentioning, you know, like, oh, back in the Stone Village, I remember when this and that, you know, like some people like to go off of that. Like if it's not mentioned by name, people are like, yeah, that was filler then, bro. It's like, so, whatever you want to call filler, be filler, and then fill, okay? But at the end of the day, seeing him use Sage Mode and it not even be that effective, I think is another very good part on their side to do that, for the benefit of just now they get to set the tone for Mitsuki's overall growth with Sage Mode. And not to mention, Mitsuki had been going through a lot already in that day, so maybe his Sage Mode is also connected to his emotions. And he was way more emotionless when he was with Orochimaru compared to now, so maybe he can't, maybe some of his emotions got in the way of Sage Mode. I don't know, guys. I enjoyed me some Boruto this week, and I hope you guys did. Let me know in the comments if you did. There was someone on Reddit that actually was me and him that were the only one that enjoyed Boruto, so if that is true, there's only 2 people out there enjoying this. I find it very hard to believe, so y'all need to come out and start championing this show because we are out of this arc, and we have seen Mitsuki's Sage Mode again. Come on, guys, they're trying to get you. They're trying to get you to watch. It's just real hard. It's real hard. Well, alright, guys, I will talk to you in the next one. I'm not sure if there's anything else coming out today, which I don't believe, so if there is no other content other than this, thanks for the support, and I will definitely talk to you guys tomorrow for Slime being the first thing I will have up on the channel as soon as I wake up and get to watch it. So, with all that being said, I hope you guys have a good day, night, evening, whatever the case is, and I will talk to you in the next one. Alright, peace.